fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today with kind of a learning video, I guess. When I first started diamond painting, if you were doing a full drill kit, the only quote-unquote special drills that you would get, possibly, would have been ABs. I get a lot of questions about ABs. What does AB stand for? AB stands for Aurora Borealis, and they are just drills with an iridescent coating applied like these that you can see here. So they'll just take regular drills, whatever the DMC color is, and then they'll put the special iridescent coating on them. So like this particular kit that I'm working on, I've got 5 different ABs. I've got these 4 ABs, and then I've got these white ABs. However, applying the coating means that the drills are just a tiny bit bigger than the regular drills. So when I first started diamond painting, I would place all the regular drills and I would save all the ABs until last because they were the pretty ones. And that was going to be like my reward for completing a section, was that I would do all of the regular drills and then I would place the ABs. What I found was if I did that, then going back and placing all the ABs was more difficult than it needed to be because they're just that smidge larger. That smidge is probably less than a millimeter difference, but it does make a difference, especially when you're putting the drills together so tightly like you would in a square drill kit. And I found that I just was getting frustrated because trying to fit the ABs in between all of the regular drills was just frustrating. So I got into the habit of placing my AB drills first. However, I still get lots of questions about how exactly I place my ABs, what methods I've used, and what works the best, and all of that. So I kind of dug out all of my old stuff. I'm just going to walk you through all of the things that you can do. I'm going to show you how each method that I'm demonstrating works, pick out what works for you, and leave behind what doesn't. Like I said, I'm always all about whatever works for you and the way you work because we don't all work the same. So whatever makes the most sense to you and how you work is what you should do. Maybe that's the same as I do it. Maybe it's completely different. So I'm just going to demonstrate and we'll go from there. So I have 2 different trays. I have a blue tray for my white drills because that makes it easier for my eyes to see. And then I have a white tray for all of my colored drills. So I've already filled in this section all of the white ABs, so I don't need those for the moment. But all of these right here are this pink AB color. So I'm going to put those in my tray. And then I'm going to kind of walk you through all the different methods that you can use. So first step is tweezers, right? We all get tweezers in our little packages, some very sharp pokey tweezers if you want to use those. Or you can get some angled tweezers like these, which I think are easier because they're flat on one end, so it makes it a little bit easier to place the drills. So you literally can just put your drills in the tray. This is why I don't use tweezers. Pick up some drills and then just place them down. Now, there are some tricks and techniques to placing drills with tweezers to make sure that they all fit in nicely and everything, especially when you're fitting them right next to each other. And again, this is why I don't use tweezers because I just end up dropping things everywhere. But this is one method that you can certainly use. Again, not the method for me. The constant pincher grip really drives my carpal tunnel crazy, so I don't do it that way. But that is certainly one method that you can use. So tweezers is method number 1. Method number 2, and I still resort to this sometimes, and that's basically using pink wax. And you can use this in a plastic placer, you can use it in a metal tip, whatever tip you're using, but the pink wax. I know I've talked a lot before about the fact that I am not a huge fan of the pink wax. It works, but when you're talking about ABs, often when you're working with ABs, especially if you've just loaded your pen with wax, you will find that the ABs pull the wax out of the pen, especially with a single placer, and it just gets to be super frustrating. I'm also a very hard placer, and what I find is that pretty quickly, especially using these plastic placers, which is about the only time I use the pink wax, that I will get edges where I've kind of been wiggling the pen. It'll basically warp the sides of the placer so it doesn't work as well as I need it to. And with a single placer, like I said, if you're just placing one at a time, placing it with the pink wax, often the AB will pull the wax out of the pen, which is super frustrating. It works, Not the best method that I found, but if you want to use it, then feel free. Method number 3, which hubby actually got for me, is these nail pins. Or nail pencils, whatever they're called. And you can find these anywhere. I think he just found some on Amazon because the first full drill Diamond Art Club that I did was a kit called Grandiose Grease, and it had ABs in it. And I was using my wax pen because at the time, the pink wax and the pen that came with it, that's all I knew how to do. It was my very first Diamond Art Club. The wax kept getting pulled out of the pen and it was driving me crazy. So hubby went and did some research and found these basically nail art pencils, and they're made to just sharpen like a pencil. They are a little bit sticky, so you can see that a drill will stick to them, and then you can use them to place your drills. Now, what I found, and the reason I don't use these anymore, is if you press very hard to place the drill, it can leave residue or a mark on the drill, which we don't want, right? If I was doing white ones, it probably wouldn't matter. So these worked. They were better than getting the wax pulled out of the pen every time I placed a drill, but I didn't like the white stuff and they just didn't feel that sturdy. So I went looking for other solutions. I recently opened a Dreamer Designs kit and it came with this AB pencil or pen, whatever you want to call it. So it's the same as the pink pen. It just has a slightly different tip on it. And this tip is meant to be used for ABs. So I think the hole is slightly smaller. You can still put wax in it and then use it to pick up your ABs. I don't have any wax in this one, but I've used a pen like this before and it works. It doesn't pull the wax out as often as it did with the pink pen and a regular tip, but it still wasn't the greatest. So the next thing I found was sort of like the nail art pens, and you can get these from pretty much any budget diamond painting company. These screw in and out so you can replace the wax part here. You can sharpen these with like just a pencil sharpener or a crayon sharpener. And then on this end, they've got like a little, these are made again for nail art. So you can put wax in there so that you can pick up drills if you want, or you can use this to pick up the drills and place them. And again, the thing for me is that wax leaves residue on the drills, which I don't want. Now this end is super skinny. So if you can manage to pick up drills in place with that, it works pretty well. Not all of them are this short. This just happens to be the design of this one. So if you leave that in covered and then use it like this, or if you like the short stubby pins, you can do that. And these work, but I just thought there's got to be a better solution out there. Because again, when you're placing these, trying to get these ABs in between each other is not always the easiest. So I found pretty placers. Now, this used to be an Etsy shop. If they're still open, I'll stick a link to it down below. Basically, these are just wax crayons. Diamond painting crayon is what it says. And usually they're scented. This one is so old, as you can see, that I've sharpened it. I have a little like crayon sharpener that I use with it to keep it sharp. Now, you can use these with regular drills as well. A lot of people use them for that. You can just place regular drills wherever you want. I bought it specifically to use with ABs because I wanted something that was going to let me pick up the ABs and be easier to use and not as frustrating like pulling the wax out of my pen every single time, etc. As you can see, I have the same issue with this. I can't push very hard because if you do, you end up leaving wax all over everything. If I'm doing something that doesn't have a ton of ABs, then I can use my pretty placer. I used this a lot before I made a change. And this was how, for a long time, I placed all of my ABs. And like here, where if they wouldn't fit in perfectly, I would just kind of get them situated a little bit. And then I would use a pin or another wax picker or something to kind of get them situated where they needed to go. However, I discovered something better. So many of you know, because I've gone on and on about them, that I use metal tips, I use single placers and multi-placers. Glue dots are what I use in my single placers, and they're great. They work just as well for ABs as anything else. I have no problem using them and placing my ABs. Also, sometimes you just want to multi-place, right? Like I'm doing this big section right here. of all of these drills and I want to multi-place. If I want to multi-place, I can use my putty. So I've got putty loaded in both of these multi-placers. This putty is a little bit older. You can see it's dirtier. This one is dirty, but it's quite a bit newer. But what happens, and let me zoom in a little bit here, what can happen when you multi-place is that you get either residue from the putty left on the drills, or the drills don't quite stick. If you use putty that is, like I said, dirty, then the drills may stick, they may not. And you can see here, again, trying to place these in between can be quite difficult. If you have new putty, and I'm just going to do some with this one and see if it happens. If you have new putty, often you can place the drills. You will get putty that pulls out and sticks to the ABs. There is a way to avoid that. You can use the dirtier putty, like I said, so if it's a little bit dirty, you may not have that issue. For instance, the putty in this pen I've been using for quite a while, so the drills don't seem to be sticking to the putty in the pen. However, if they do, there is a neat little trick that you can use, and that is to take a sponge and just get it damp. Not wet, don't get it dripping, just get it damp. And then once you have it damp, you can dip your multi-placer pen, whatever, and get some of that moisture on the end of your pen where your putty is. And then when you go to place your drills, it won't stick to the AB coating. And you can do the same thing with glue dots. Get your glue dot a little damp and then pick up a drill and place it. Because if you're not careful, sometimes with putty, but more often it happens with the glue dots, you can pull the iridescent coating off of the drills, which then makes them look like just a regular drill, right? If you're using a brand new glue dot in there, that can certainly happen. I've had it happen where you place the drill, pull it up, and suddenly you realize, oh, that's just a regular drill now because I pulled the AB coating off of it. So the sponge trick is super handy. Like I said, just get it damp. Don't get it super wet. Just get it wet, wring it out really good, and then leave it setting on something on your table. And then you can just dab your putty into it. That will keep it from sticking to any of your ABs. All right. I hope this was helpful for those of you who don't work a lot with ABs. I would encourage you to use them. They're amazing. They add a lot of depth and sparkle to paintings. Many kits come with them these days. Like I said, this particular kit has 5 ABs included with it. And anytime I have leftover ABs, I will save them so that I can use them again in another project. So I'm probably going to have white ABs left over from this kit, which I will put in a bag with my other leftover ABs and I will use them. And these days, they used to give them weird codes. Diamond Art Club still does sometimes. This is a Bella Art Diamond kit. So they give you the DMC code and then just the AB after it. So I know what DMC code it is. Sometimes they match exactly. Sometimes they don't with other ABs that you have. If they don't match, then you can just eyeball it for what you want to add in or whatever you want to do. But adding this extra little bit of sparkle is super fun. So I encourage everyone to add a little bit of extra bling. Bling is always fun. And hopefully I gave you some ideas for how to use the various bits and bobs. Like I said, you can use anything from these like specialty wax picker things. You can use a pretty placer. You can use tweezers. You can use glue dots. You can use putty. Any and all of those will work. If you find your putty sticking, try the sponge trick. That has worked wonders for me, and just have fun. Like I said, these are all things that I've tried and mostly discarded for various reasons. I know tweezers are a tried and true thing for a lot of people. They just are not for me personally because of my carpal tunnel issues. If you don't mind the repetitive nature, I think tweezers are a really good way to place drills, especially if you're going for perfectly straight. Unfortunately, those don't work for me, so I've had to find other workarounds. So if you have another tip or trick for using an AB and keeping it from sticking to your wax, putty, whatever, leave me a comment down below. If you found any of these especially helpful, let me know that as well. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.